Hello again. We're here back in the shed, back from Bali, back from work, and back on the TVR AGP engine. Now, since the last video, about the only thing I've really done is I gave it a real good water blast. There was a lot of gunk in these water jackets here that are cleaned out. Blew everything out with air, then with some more water, then with air. Put a bit of a coat of oil on the bores just so they don't go rusty. And today's mission, or where I'm at, and I took the oil and water pump assembly out. Now, yeah, today's mission is start preparing the block, hone the cylinders, and start getting ready to put the bottom end back together. Now, hang on, got to plug my microphone. Righto, can you hear me now? And another thing, my parts arrived, which I'm pretty happy about. So, oh, look at that, timing chain, and a heap of seals and bearings. So yeah, I'll just talk about that briefly. I've got all my parts through Powers, which are kind of the one of the go-to places for TVR parts. That's about £3,500, and that was basically, well, everything on here. Bearings, there's a lot of roller bearings in this motor, so it was the crank bearings, big end bearings, a whole heap of roller bearings, O-rings, big heap of O-rings, valve guides, valves, piston and rings, head gaskets, water pump seals, crank seal at the front, crank seal at the back, big heap of seals and O-rings and bearings. So yeah, that worked out to about £6,000 Australian, and then I had to pay like another 1,000 on top of that. The customs caught it, you know. I couldn't really ask them to break this into multiple packages below $1,000 value. It was not really practical. So and one of the things I'll be tackling this weekend is pull these studs out. I've got new studs. All the studs, basically, all the studs that go through the water jacket. I'm going to replace them. The rest of them, I mean, these are all brand new, so there's no point changing them out. And just give the bores a quick hone, and then once again pressure wash everything. I might get my sharpening stone and just run my sharpening stone across the top of these cylinders here just to clean them up. And yeah, so today went down to the shop, bought this bad boy. So now I'm going to see how it works. Alright, here we go. Got my hone ready. I've actually done one cylinder already, but the camera turned off for me. Alright, on to cylinder number 2. This is just transmission fluid that to keep it lubed up. Righto. Alright, let's have a look at that. Alright, these are the two cylinders that I've done. It's just oil. Now I don't know if you can see on camera, but there is actually like some vertical marks there, just some tiny scratches on both these cylinders. I'm not sure if that's something I'm going to be able to hone out, but I mean the cylinders look mint. I mean there's no low spots. Hitting every part of the cylinder. I just have to be careful how far down I go, or as it touches the block. You might have heard a couple of bumps where I did that. But yeah, I'm a little bit optimistic. Might be time for a time lapse. Alright, so yeah, as I was saying, this is turned out to be quite anticlimactic. I thought this was going to be a big job for some reason, but it's like less than a minute each bore and they're done. But there's still a few imperfections. If you see there, you can see slight high or low spot. Same there. Few vertical scuff marks. Yeah, maybe they need a little bit longer. These have been wiped clean with a rag too, but yeah, if you see there, you can see some vertical marks, but again they're too tiny to catch your fingernails on, so alright, see what I can see. Alright, so some of you may have noticed I've got my glasses on. I thought I'd better at least get semi-professional and actually measure the bores and so on. And it looks like I pulled out this brand new piston, measured the bore. I haven't measured every bore, I've measured a couple of them, but I'm looking at about 2 thou clearance, which is about right, just a whisker over 2 thou. There are we. 2.3 thou. My calculator there. So, you're probably sick of seeing this, but I might give these another go and over. Like you can see, there's, I don't know, just a slight scratch on the vertical there. I don't think it's going to hurt anything, but yeah, see this one. Yeah, this one was a bit light on. I could have still a bit of gunk at the top there. Oh, that's just, yeah, you can see those. You can barely feel them. So yeah, I might give it about another 40 seconds each one, and see where that sits me. Righto, so I reckon I've gone about as far as I'm going to go with the cylinder boring. There's still a little bit of vertical score marks there, but I don't think I'm going to lose any sleep over it. The thing had 225 psi compression on every cylinder before I honed it with the old pistons in it, so yeah, I'm not too fussed. I'm sure it'll be fine. Now I've got these are my new studs. Basically, yeah, as I said before, I'm going to replace every one that's been in the water jacket. They're probably all right, but yeah, I wanted to change them out anyway. Yeah, pretty important. And yeah, some of the corrosion there is yeah, not very nice. Only thing is, I've got to I need to get 2 nuts to put on there to pull the studs out, and I don't really want to use my cylinder head nuts that I've got for that, and I don't have any in this thread. This it's a 12mm fine thread, was at 1.25 maybe, but I'll go to the bulk shop. Just while I'm here, thought I'd show you. Look at that. That's what a brand new AJP piston from Powers looks like. Yeah, fancy. Probably haven't got the best lighting there, but and while I'm here, I thought I'd show you my little goodie box. Here's my big bag of seals, bearings, the new timing chain in there. Yeah, this motor's got a heap of these roller bearings in it. And, these are actually, I'm going to have to put my thinking cap on about how to put these back in. Taking them out will be easy, I'll just use brute force, but sliding them back in without damaging them, I have to have a think about that. Yeah, there's a whole heap of small ones. Another one, yeah, timing chain. So piston rings to go to that piston. Another big bag of stuff. Yeah, O-rings. Many O-rings. More O-rings. That's rear main seal, I think. More O-rings. Front seal. That's some sort of seal from in the oil pump. That's another seal. Oil or the water pump, I'm not sure. Big bunch of O-rings that just fell out of their bag. More seals. O-rings. That's a oil pressure switch. This is the infamous oil pump pressure relief valve spring. Valve stem seals, yeah. Alright, what else have we got here? Valves, big bag of valves. And down the bottom in there I've got head gaskets, valve guides, motor mounts, the rest of the pistons, and yeah, little end bearings. There you go. So, got a bit of work to do. Right, anyway, pause for a minute, go to the bolt shop, get some bolts for this, and then I'll come back and start pulling these studs out. I'm going to pressure clean the whole thing again and put my new studs in. Righto, so I went down the fastener shop and like an idiot forgot it was Saturday afternoon and they're all shut, but went and saw my neighbour, and what do you know, he's got M12 by 1.25 nuts, 2 of. So there you go, I'm set. I should be able to start pulling some studs out. So put the camera on the stand and we'll see how we go. Of course, the first thing my neighbour said was, oh, do they get seized in there like Jaguar ones? I said, well, I don't know, but we're going to find out. Well. One moment. Okay. Ah, yeah. Seized in there. Of course they're not seized in there. Well, this one isn't. Yeah. There you go. Done. Gotta be happy with that. These probably aren't that bad. It's a bit of surface corrosion, but probably the cheapest of all the parts I've bought was the new ones. So there we go. Alright, well I'll go and get these nuts off and righto, here we are in the shed again. Another sunny day in Perth. Today's mission: install the head studs and then look at dropping the crank in and start checking some clearances. Now as I said before, the studs that didn't run through the water jacket were fine, whereas the ones that did run through the water jacket, they had a fair bit of corrosion on them. So basically I blasted this block to within an inch of its life with a water blaster. Now I'm just going to blow out each of these holes that the studs go in, lube them up, give them a bit of a test fit, see how they feel, and move on to putting in the crank. So here we are. The compressor's got to kick in right now, but as far as lubricant goes, I've read differing opinions and so on, but all I've got here is just 20 weight engine oil. I like the engine oil because it'll flow through and coat all of the thread. So see what it looks like. Right, so that's dripping. Alright, seems to bottom out pretty nicely. I was watching a few YouTube videos on installing these things, and that little point at the end, if you can see, that's what the stud's supposed to bottom out on in the block. So I don't think you need a whole video of me doing this, so through the magic of YouTube, we'll fast forward to when I've got it done. Righto, so back at it again. You learn something new every day. What I learned today was these are my new bearings for the main bearings, and what I didn't actually notice when I pulled this apart is the thrust bearing is only on 1/2 of the number 4 main journal, and because I looked at the new bearings and I realised, oh, I've only got one side of the thrust bearing. I thought, oh, maybe I'm missing parts, and I dug through the box and couldn't find anything, and then I went through all my old parts and there's only one. And so I spoke to, actually posted it up on the Facebook group, and I thought, well, hang on, I'll just call the bloke I got the parts from, get it direct from him. He said, yeah, that's perfectly normal, that's standard. They only have 1/2 of a thrust bearing. So there you go. Right, so my mission now, I'm going to pull these old bearings out. put the new bearings in, torque down the caps, and just use my little inside micrometer, see what the measurement is. I'm not super confident measuring with that inside micrometer. There's quite an art to it, so that's plan B, the plastic gauge. So yeah, here I go. Righto, so I've measured everything up and I'm pretty happy with the results. As you can see, the measurements in the block are all 2.502. I actually had a lot better luck measuring the crank bearing size than I did with the bore. Just seemed a lot easier to get that located in that perfect position where you know it's right. And as you can see, I didn't bother writing down the crank dimensions because with the vernier set on spot on 2.5, you can see it just floats over with a bit of drag there. So so it looks like I've got about 2 thou. Some of these you could argue are maybe a little bit over, like maybe a 2.3 or a 2.2, but yeah, they certainly didn't make it to 503. So I've got maybe a B's deck over 2 thou clearance, which is pretty much where I want to be. That's what the book says. It's probably a little loose, but that's alright. Makes it I can rev it a little harder, maybe. So yeah, right now all I want to do, you're just looking at the crank. I want to drop the crank back in, but it looks shiny, doesn't it? Just notice this here. This sealing edge is the rear main seal goes there. So, and you can see it's just got a little bit of corrosion there. I just don't want to tear up the seal when I put the seal on, so I might just get some wet and dry and clean that up. There's a little bit of dirtiness there, but that's coming off. Yeah. Alright, so yeah, I'll just get a little bit of wet and dry, clean up this dirty edge here, and take all these bolts back out again and lube her up and drop her in. Righto, so yeah, I just got strips of wet and dry and just cleaned up this this part of the crank here. It looks like it's the forwardmost part that the seal's been running on. So you can still see a bit of discoloration there, but you can't feel it with my finger, so I don't really want or need to go any further, so yeah, call that done. Alright, so I've got the main caps out, which is a bit more of a challenge than you think. But just before I drop the crank in here, I've got this oil gallery bung that goes down there. I thought I'd put that in there first before I drop the crank in and make it more difficult to access. So now I actually went back and had a look at the manual, and the manual says run Teflon tape to seal it, which yeah, I wasn't sort of over the moon about. Now if you look at it here, you see this is the main oil feed line in. Goes to here, up through the centre, and then obviously feeds the mains. It's a bit dark here, but you see it actually runs out to the cylinder heads through here. And now just let me show you. Yeah, so this is the front of the little gallery here. There's a plug that goes there, and then it feeds up to the cylinder heads via these. Now, if you look at these, you can't. It's a bit hard to see. But yeah, in there's a tiny little orifice. Now I've blown those out. I got a bit paranoid about them. Yeah, blew them out with the pressure washer, blew them out with compressed air. I'm not exactly thrilled with putting Teflon tape on this bung, but at the same time, it's probably easier to get to from the top. But at the same time, it's got to be sealed. So if I have a look. Alright, so that thread there's really deep. Yeah, because the thread's so deep, I'll show you what I'm going to do. Instead of tape, I'll just use the sealant, but I'll just put it on the first, or the outside half of the plug. This stuff's pretty good. It's a Permatex, whatever it is. This has actually got a little bit of a taper on it too. So alright, so I put it on pretty thick, because if you look at that, there's no way the sealant there can get to that end of the thread, so may as well make it thick. Actually, I've just had another brainwave. If you look in there, you can see, maybe, that's where the main oil feed line comes up. So if I look at my little bung, that's what's 16 mil long. And let's get a rough. This is very rough, by the way. Right. So the hole's probably about 18 mil in there. So 16 mil, 18 mil. This sits 2 mil deep in there, should be fine. I mean, it should be fine anyway, but I just like to check. Alright. Went in so easy before. Alright, here we go. Might just put a bit more sealant on that part. Alright. Alright, well this is meant to be installed to 20 foot-pounds, so I'll do that now. Right, 20 foot-pounds doesn't seem like much at all. Just go another 5. Yeah. All right. Okay, so can't see any reason we can't drop this crank in. Right, now one thing I haven't actually checked out, but I got this stuff a while ago. It's engine assembly grease. Might have to have a look around online, because that seems like a bit of a no-name brand to me. But I'm sure it's fine. Alright. Take 5. Righto, so I just had a quick Google. This is stocked by some pretty reputable spare parts suppliers, so it seems to have good reviews and people say good things about it, so I just couldn't remember where I bought it, so righto, here we go. Do the front and back sides of the thrust. Right. So better lock this bad boy in place just in case it decides to do a loop the loop when I drop the crank in. Righto, this is where you get to see me flex my muscles. Yeah. Back in its home. Right, cap number one. Actually, I might make this a time lapse. Alright, here we are again. Got up early this morning and I've torqued up the bolts all to the 50-pound feet. Now I've checked the crank end clearance, and I've got about 8 thou end play. Now the book says between 5 and 7. Am I going to pull it all apart and try and source a new thrust bearing to sort that out? No, I don't think I am. Just going to live with that, I think. Certainly for now, anyway. So yeah. On to the next project, which is piston installation. One thing I just noticed, the pistons have a left and a right. Like if you look here, this is a right hand piston with the big valve here. It's a left hand piston, big valve there. But I also have, like this one here is an LH. I've got an LH, 3 L's, an RH, which is, where is it? Hang on, I've got two RHs, 2 R's, 2 LHs, and 2 L's. So I'm gonna have to put my thinking cap on, or maybe make a phone call and ask what that means. Maybe go back through the manual, but the first thing I was going to do is, if these scales work, alright, the U-Butte scales don't work. I'm just going to weigh each piston, see what they are. It's actually pretty funny, the TVR manual actually says select 8 pistons that are within 1 gram of each other, as if somehow like I've got a stack of 30-40 pistons to choose from. I've only got 8, so I'm going to measure the 8, and then I'll this is number 1 here, the old one, so I'm going to take that off, take the rings off it, and just weigh that and just see if I'm in the ballpark. So and then of course it's check piston ring end gap for the top and the middle rings. So I'm thinking the way I might tackle this is just two pistons at once and just do everything on the 2 pistons, and yeah, I'm talking about bearing clearance, ring end gap, install pistons on rods. Just do 2 at a time and work my way back through the block, do it like that. But first thing I've got to do is get some batteries for my scales. So yeah. Righto, so after just move that light. After a bit of measuring, what do you know? Every one of them is 452. Well, this one was 451, so pretty good. Problem is, this bad boy, 439. So, this is from cylinder number 1, which is the very front left-hand one. So, I'm going to go out on a limb and say the LH might mean, I see that's back to front as well. Alright, now I'm really confused. Alright, so I had a bit of confusion with the pistons. as you can see, I've written it on here in marker pen, just so you can see on the camera. But you got 8 pistons, and on the box and on top of the piston, they were marked as either R, L, LH, or RH. And of course I thought, well, R is right hand side, L is left hand side, but what's the difference between an RH and an R and an LH and an L? And I actually called Dom at Powers, and you could tell he was trying to get the info across, but it's kind of hard to describe verbally. And of course the problem was I hadn't looked closely at the heads, and that's why I wasn't picking up what he was putting down. So if I show you, for a start, the R and the L, they don't correspond to right and left. But then when you look at the heads, you'll see here you've got exhaust, inlet, then it switches over to inlet, exhaust, and that's kind of why I was looking at the pistons and thinking, well, this, have I got, 8 left-hand pistons here, or 8 right-hand pistons, or what's going on? And I couldn't. But now I've laid it all out like this. Like you can see, these are the heads. This is the intake side. This is, again, that's the intake side there. So I laid it all out like this, so I don't get confused. And the blocks over there under that rag, I'll spin that around to orientate with this, so basically I can just drop one piston in at a time and not get confused and end up with a piston crown hitting the valve. So if we look here, this is an RH on the left hand side of the motor, looking from the driver's side, and you can see that crown there matches the combustion chamber, and the small recess in the piston matches the exhaust, and the big recess matches the inlet. So they're all lined up. But yeah, the R and the L just threw me. Alright, so yes, the next step is I'm going to turn the block around, and I'll start looking at piston ring gaps, I guess. Alright, so I got the first piston ring in there. As you can see, I don't know if the camera can pick that up, but for those of you who've never done this before, and I've only done it a few times myself, but basically, yeah, you sit the ring in there, then you take the piston like so, and just push the ring down, so it's flat, and then use your feeler gauges to measure the end gap. Now I've got the feeler gauge with the 8th thou goes in there, the 11th thou almost fits in there, so I've got about 10 thou end gap, which I haven't actually checked the specs, but I've got a feeling 10 thou is yeah, that's too small, because again, some of you, this is pretty basic stuff, but if the piston ring end gap is too small, when the piston ring heats up, it expands. Those the ends of the piston rings touch each other, and they basically try and push out against the bore, and that's when you end up with like the tops of the pistons breaking off, and yeah, that's not good. So if you get, better to be a little on the loose side than on the tight side, but not too loose, or you'll just burn oil. So that was the top ring. I might just check the middle ring and see where we're at with that. I might have to actually invest in a proper ring end gap grinding machine. The last time I did this I used an angle grinder and it was yeah, it's a bit how you going, so I won't do that again. Alright, here we go. Alright, so just check the second ring and I've got about 15 thou on that, so that's probably on spec. I'm going to go inside in a minute and just check what the specs are, but the second ring down generally has a tighter end gap than the top ring, because the top ring gets hotter because it's right next to the combustion chamber, so generally the top ring has a bigger gap than the second ring. But what I've got here is the second ring is 15 thou and the top ring is like 8 or 9 thou. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to take that 8 or 9 thou, usually up around somewhere between 15 and 20 thou, but I'll go inside and check what the interwebs have to say, and yeah. Alright, so here we are again. Had a couple of days delay just through family stuff and other things going on, but went and got myself one of these bad boys, a ring end gap grinder. These are actually pretty hard to get, you know, in an actual shop. So yeah, this piston here all ready to go. Put new bearings in my rod, cheers, over here with my newfangled soft jaws that I just made. So let me just put the camera here. Now, let's check on my phone. Yeah, 40 pound foot. So, might go in two hits. Right, so that's 20. That's 40. so I know this has got to be just a whisker over 2 inches. So got my this thing. Just make sure. All right. Right, so that's bang on 2 inches there. There's about 2 thou, so that's 2.002 inches. Now if I go back over to my, you see, I find this thing a bit of a pain in the ass to use, but if I go back, I use the external mic on all the big ends, and they're all just a whisker over 2 inches, so not quite a thou. Yeah, probably about a half a thou. So yeah, so I've probably got 1.5, 2 thou clearance on that cotton rod anyway. So that bad boy's going in once it connects to the piston. Alright, so I've had a bit of a, well, not disaster, but I've had a bit of a trouble. I've managed to, I don't know if you can see that, managed to crack the edge off a ring, the second ring. So yeah, it's a bit disappointing. I have a feeling my this is the ring compressor I'm using, so I'll have to double check. I'm going to have to use another ring, obviously from another piston. Try again, and yeah, send an email to order some new ones. Alright, well, I'm going to get some new rings out of the other pack and see how I go. Righto, so nothing's gotten any better. I've actually managed to damage the next piston ring. It's got a, I've just managed to shave an edge off it. Um, look, I don't get super cut up over this sort of thing. I figure if you're trying to do something that most people would never even attempt, well, sometimes things are going to go wrong. But I am going to, at least today, step away from the tools because I've done enough damage. I'm going to try and find the broken bits of that ring, and obviously I'm going to have to order some new rings, but yeah, this is garbage. It just, you get a tiny little gap there and the ring just pops out as you're tapping it in, and that time it didn't even feel like it was snagging. But yeah, I saw on the ring compressor just a tiny little hair of, well, there it is there. I don't know if you can see that. I saw that on the ring compressor. I thought, was that from the last ring or the ring I just put in? Look. And so I thought I'd better pull it out and check, and pulled it out, and sure enough, I don't think you've got much chance of seeing that on the camera, but yeah, that edge is yeah, just chipped off the edge of it. So yeah, a bit of a bummer, but I've got to do something better than this. In fact, I might even have a look around and see if I can find any steel tube I can machine with an ID of 91mm and machine a little bit of a taper in, so I've got a proper ring compressor, not some cheap piece of junk. But yeah, a bit of a bummer, but oh well, you get that sometimes when you do things like this. Oh well, onwards and upwards. Alright, so I've had a bit of luck. This bad boy here, aluminium, and she is about 102 on the outside. And about 90 on the inside. So these are 91mm pistons, so I should be able to take this over to my neighbour's lathe, take an old piston with me, and make a proper piston ring compressor tool. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, basically what I'll do is I'll slice that much off it. Well, the exact length I'll have to have a think about, but take that much off it, take the centre out to 91, so you'll have 91 all that way down, and then probably about here I'll start cutting the taper, probably taper it out to, I don't know, 100mm. That way, yeah, I'll sit the piston in there with the rings, just give the rings a gentle push into the taper, tap tap tap, and then sit this on top of the bore and tap it on through, and I'll have a proper tool, not like this piece of garbage. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. Alright, off to see neighbour Joe and his lathe. Righto, here we are again in the shed a day later after our little piston ring disaster / debacle, and I have this bad boy. Pretty happy with it. I'm such a good machinist, I even got cross hatching on my piston ring compressor tool. So yeah, basically, if you've never seen it before, that sits on there. And yeah, that's how that works. So now, this is actually my first time using it, so Just lube her up. It's just engine oil. Alright, so just to be clear, this is the second ring I've had on this piston, so I'm hoping third time lucky, get the thing in without anything breaking. Right, so, right. Right, so that's that in there. Yeah. Right. Might have had a win. There's just some real gentle taps there, so ooh, she sits high. Right, well that's free as a bird. put the other one on before I torque them both up, just yeah. Right, onwards and upwards. Alright, since I was so impressed with the way this worked last time, I'm going to show you again. See, it just sits in there like that. Just like that. As you might have guessed, I'm guiding the rod onto the crank channel here. An old piece of gasket just fell out. the only reason I'm using this here is just to save me a bit of time. Alright, so these are meant to be 40-pound foot. We go to 20. Never easy, is it? And 40. Done. And you can still push it over with your hand. That. Not bad. Now, one thing I do have to check. This end-to-end clearance. Alright, so that was 18 there, I won't put in there. Alright, 11th hour won't go in. Alright, that's from 8 to 11. Right, so 8 fits in there, so it's somewhere between 8 and 11th hour, side to side. And I don't actually know what it's meant to be. That does ring a bell, so. Alright, I've got more to do on this, but I think I might call it quits for this video. Just because if I add it up I've probably got like an hour worth of footage, and no one's going to watch all that. So when you see me next, I'll be back from Thailand and Taiwan, and hopefully I'll have the bottom end all back together, and then I'll have the heads are going to the shop tomorrow, so I'll have the heads back. So I'll be on to things like timing chain, replacing all these roller bearings. Some of these big the big needle bearings, they look like a pain in the backside. I'm not sure exactly how they're meant to come out, but or how you meant to put them in without destroying them. But if anyone's got any ideas, let me know. Look how smooth that is. But at some point in the future it'll be on to doing things like timing the cams, maybe checking valve to piston clearance. I'm not sure. Alright, so till next time, thanks for watching.